for this unit for business ethics, so the things that the exam board want you to think about and have thought about. And like I say, we will come back to this again more in class together. So applying canteen ethics and utilitarianism to business ethics. So the two sort of secular ones that the exam board have you look at. And that's what we did a lot of yesterday, and we'll do more today. And then we talked about this idea as to whether CSR, so corporate social responsibility, is just basically looking like you're being a good company when you're not really. You're just doing it for greed because you're intent on making profits. So if you just remind me, maybe someone could type in the chat, who would say it doesn't really matter why you're doing something as long as it gets that good effect out of utilitarianism or canteen ethics? Which one's going to say, look, it depends on the, oh, you can't see my screen, Khadija, can you see it now? Or was that the polls? That was the polls. Who can someone type in, who would say, it doesn't matter why a company's doing it, if the result is that they do a good, yes, thanks, Fatika. If the result is that they do a good thing, because utilitarianism, a good thing is the thing that creates the greatest pleasure or happiness to the greatest people, doesn't really matter why. Whereas canteen ethics would say, no, the only reason they should be doing it is because it is the right thing to do. There's no like ulterior motives. There's no, oh, it's because we want to have a good reputation, to look good, to make a profit. So that's one split you can have on that question. And remember, Milton Friedman is the person who said, look, businesses should only be doing it to make a profit. That's their whole aim, is to make a profit. And if they're doing all this CSR, no, it's not very meaningful. Can human beings flourish in the context of capitalism and consumerism? So this is really asking, like, are we basically doomed to be making unethical choices? Are we, and I've got some points that can help me with this later, you know, is it that we can't flourish, we can't live good, fulfilling lives under the system we have at the moment of businesses and capitalism and consumerism? Is it encouraging us to be too materialistic, buying too many things? Maybe Mill would talk about that in the higher and lower pleasures, or perhaps Kant would say, yeah, it's not possible because we're using people as a means to an end. You know, consumers are being used to buy things, employees are being used to get a profit out of them. Or maybe we can flourish. Again, Mill might say, well, look, if you earn money and then it means you can then get some of those higher pleasures, going to the opera, things like that, perhaps it is good, because consumerism and capitalism. I don't know whether Kant could argue that it is, other than perhaps giving people dignity and giving people, you know, being able to make choices in their life. But I've got some more points for that for you in a minute. And then finally, about globalization. Does it encourage or discourage the pursuit of good ethics as the foundation of good business? Does globalization sort of encourage bad ethics in companies because of the kind of economic choices they can make? So on that last point, I want to watch a short clip of a video of a woman who's called Naomi Klein. So I'm going to write her name down here. And she, oh, I think I spelled it wrong. Naomi Klein. And if you do economics, some of you do economics, don't you? Have you looked at her in economics? I wonder if you study her. She wrote a really amazing book called No Logo, and lots of other books. And she's a big supporter of like talking about climate change and everything at the moment as well. And in this clip, you'll see her. She's from Toronto, in Canada. She's going to talk for a few minutes about globalization and the labor market. So I think this really links to that last point. So let me find it here. And again, I put it in the class yesterday. So if you want to go back and look at it yourself, you can as well. Let me see where it is. Naomi Klein, here we go. So this whole film's like 40 minutes, but we're just going to watch 4 minutes of it. How do I pop it out though? Okay, I'm going to have to pause that. Okay, one of you is going to have to do me a favor and tell me if you can hear it. When I play it, I've forgotten how to do this now and whether it echoes. I can't remember what the trick is. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can stop presenting and start sharing a tab. That one. Okay. So she's here, so we can see her there, can't we? But can we hear her? Okay, just do a raise hand if you hear her when I press play.
There's a kind of preemptive censorship that we never even hear about. I mean, we'll hear about some.
And it wasn't echoing or anything, no? Okay, great. All right, here we go. I'll turn it up a bit though. Fine.
If it gets yanked off the shelf. But what we don't hear about is the censorship behind the scenes and the preemptive and second-guessing censorship that takes place. That is silence.
Hang on, sorry. I need to move it on a little bit. It was this bit. I know, it's fine. You're going to see it in a second.
And that producing the product was almost incidental. When you buy a pair of shoes, say a Nike pair of shoes, even though there's a Nike swoosh on it.
Oh, it's echoing. Okay, that's me. So I think I need to mute me. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Maria. I forgot how to do this from lockdown. Okay. This is the perfect bit now, so here we go.
Nike didn't make those shoes. Nike bought those shoes. And the way that they did it is probably they approached a broker in Hong Kong. And that broker in Hong Kong told them which factory could produce those shoes for the cheapest price. So the contract to make those shoes was given to a factory in China, in Vietnam, in Indonesia. But that contractor may then decide that they can even get a cheaper price by contracting with subcontract factories. And at every stage, the amount of money that goes to the workers shrinks, and you end up with this maze of contract and subcontract factories. The Nike paradigm, as it is now called, was held up as the future of the corporate world. Now, what makes a product cheaper, one product cheaper than the next? They can't scrimp too much on materials because obviously there needs to be a baseline level of quality in all the products or they're going to go out of business. So where they usually manage to get the savings is how much they pay the workers.
Human rights groups say Nike pays some workers in Asia less than $1 a day and employs child labor in some of its plants.
And part of the way that you keep wages down is by tightly controlling a workforce, making sure that they don't start forming unions and making demands for things like health care benefits, job security, more control over their lives. These goods are produced in what are called export processing zones. They're often called maquiladoras. What they are special industrial parks that have been set up especially to produce goods for export to the United States, to Canada, to Europe. They are walled in. There are high fences, and there are usually armed guards monitoring these zones. The workforce is incredibly young and almost entirely female. The dominant age is 18 to 25, and I would say that they were about 80% women. And the women who worked there didn't come from the surrounding areas. They came from provinces that were 6 or 7 hours away. This was in the Philippines and Indonesia. And the people who I met said that they felt that this was done on purpose, that they were designing a workforce that was very, very easy to control, that there was a feeling that women were easier to control than men, young women were easier to control than older women, and that girls who are far from their family and their community and their infrastructure, what makes them strong and rooted, are easier to push around. Are constantly feeling scared and unstable, and this is why it's an easier workforce to control. When Nike first started buying its shoes, importing its shoes from contractors, it was dealing primarily with Japanese manufacturers. But then producing products in Japan got too expensive, so they started giving the contracts to manufacturers in Korea and Taiwan. But then workers in Korea and Taiwan started forming unions and started getting higher wages. And Nike and Reebok and all the companies that were producing products in Korea and Taiwan weren't very pleased with this. So they canceled those contracts. Then what happened is that the companies that owned the factories in Korea and Taiwan moved to the Philippines, Vietnam, China, and opened up factories there. The government
Is it too laggy? Did you put your hand up because it's lagging too much? Or was it an accident? Okay, I'll keep it going. It's just like 1 more minute left.
Governments in these countries will say, okay, well, we'll give you a 10-year tax holiday. You can come to our country, you can set up a factory, no tariffs, and we'll guard your factory and make sure no pesky union organizers even get in there. And then the company will say, and we have a docile workforce, we can give it to you for 10 cents cheaper a piece. So there's a kind of a global auction going on, and the pawns in this auction are the workers themselves. And that's why, even though the promise of globalization is that it will lead to development in poor countries and that wages will go up and the situation will improve, what's actually happening is we're witnessing a race to the bottom where countries are outbidding each other for who can abuse their workers more.
Okay, so I just want to try and remember a couple of these bits. I don't know if you're writing notes down. What I might do is set it again as a little homework with a quiz, another point. But what was really interesting at the end there, what did she say? Well, what did she say about the workforce? What people were they deliberately hiring to work in these factories? Can unmute or tell me? I don't mind. I should have said you could that you could mute. Who could unmute? Why don't Nimka? Why don't you tell me? You can unmute and tell me, can you? Young girls away from home. Yes, Atika. Or have you all got noisy houses? Are you sat in noisy houses at the moment? I know what that's like. So Atika, young girls away from home. Let's see. Khadija, why did they pick young girls to be away from home to work in these factories? You there, Khadija? Can you do a show of hands if you're still? Oh, go on, Khadija. Go on. Go on.
I can't remember.
What or what was something about why weren't they making these shoes in America if they're an American company? Khadija. Just gonna pick on cheap labor, Mariam, yeah. Why Nimka, are you there? Do you want to type or say why do you think it was girls that they went for? And why did they do that thing where they moved away from home?
They were easier to control and they wouldn't form unions and stuff.
So she talked a lot there about unions. So I don't know if any of you have heard about what unions are. Hopefully you are members of or will be joining the National Union of Students. If you are in work, you can be in a union. That is your human right to be part of a union. And unions sort of protect your rights by workers being able to join together and say, we refuse to work under these conditions or for this pay or this or that. And unions work together a lot for the health and safety of the workers. So countries are even saying that we will stop unions forming with our workforce, so you'll be able to basically do do what you like with them. And this is all connected to globalization because it kept moving, didn't it, from a cheaper place to a cheaper place to a cheaper place. And she called it and you might want to jot this down, or I can we can watch it again another time and get it down. Global auction. You know, when an auction is like you're bidding and then the highest bidder wins. It's like a race to the bottom, she called it as well. It's like everyone is bidding for the lowest place. We've got the cheapest labor. We can knock 10 cents off what they're doing there. Come and do it here with us. And every time, so Nike go to one company, you go to another company, you go to another one, everyone takes a little share of it off. So the people who actually make the trainers get a lower and lower and lower and lower amount. And she said, like, the promise of globalization actually turned into a race to the bottom, which I think is quite a good quote. The promise of globalization is a race to the bottom. Let's paraphrase to the bottom. So who can charge the least? Who can get their workers to? So why is it that she said that they couldn't really cut down on the materials, so on the actual trainers? Why can't they sort of like just get cheaper and cheaper materials? Atika, do you want to unmute and say? Or type?
Miss, could you repeat the question, please?
That's fine, yeah. Why did she say they can't make the materials cheaper and cheaper, and Nike can't sort of use cheaper and cheaper materials? Why is it the workforce that has to be costing less and less?
Because they have to have a baseline of quality, otherwise people are gonna stop buying from them, and so it's easier to take off workers' wages because they can't do anything against it.
Yeah, and that is where it comes in, I think, the pressure from consumers. You know, we talked about that yesterday with who was to blame for the Rana Plaza. The pressure from consumers has to be, well, we're not going to, this is what I believe, although I'm not very good at it myself, I've tried to in my life, is to say, well, if you're going to have those working conditions, then I'm not going to wear these trainers. You know, it's like, I don't want to wear these trainers. So then it all becomes a bit of a public relations. How do we look? What do we look like? What are we showing everyone? Our reputation. So it kind of all, it's all very connected, I think. So globalization is something that you can speak about quite a bit in whatever essay you have to do with whether overall it is positive or negative. What were some of the positives that come from globalization? Shall I just see what you put in your poll? See if everyone answered the poll. So we've got, I'm going to let you all see the results. Only 3 people have voted so far. Does that mean you can't? I think some computers, they don't work, the polls don't work on them. So overall, is globalization a good thing or a bad thing? So yeah, we voted, 3 of you voted that it is a good thing. So overall, is it a good thing? I mean, the opportunities it brings people, the work it does bring people, maybe those girls on that video would rather work than not work, you know. And perhaps if you look at India and China and the positive things that have come for their development through having a cheap workforce, and, you know, now they're able to, now India's becoming like a real tech sort of place, rather than just cheap factories. It's kind of people have moved into different types of work and they've got higher wages. Maybe it is a good thing. And then maybe it's not a good thing when you think about how it's encouraging businesses to have this race to the bottom and go to the cheapest place possible and cream off that profit between the wages they're paying and the amount they're charging for the product. Great. Okay. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about is Kant. One thing about Kant's view on business ethics as well. Actually, maybe I was going to come to that now, or should I come back to here? Yeah, I'm going to show you one more video about Kant, and then we'll look at some essay questions and have a go at that debating thing that I didn't manage to do yesterday. So let me find our classroom for it. So we're going to watch another video. Was it super laggy or was it okay? Was it okay? I'm going to assume it was okay. Let me see here. So one thing you could do, and most of you on here, the fact that you're sat here for the 2nd day running as well, are aiming to do really well in this A-level, which is fantastic. There's a guy called Michael Sandel who's got these lectures from Harvard University. You know, I'm always trying to tell you things that you can stick in your UCAS forms, or you can say at a university interview. We're going to watch a little clip of him talking about Kantian ethics. I find him quite engaging, and I guess if you're at home and you can pause it and listen and come back again, he is giving a lecture literally in, you might have seen some of these in year 12, I don't know if you did, he's giving a lecture like in Harvard University about different ethical theories. So I'm going to show you a little section of the Kantian ethics one. And it's something you could watch yourself and have a think about. And it's something you could put in a UCAS application, or something you could add in an interview and say, you know, oh, I found the lectures from Michael Sandel at Harvard University on his, I'll tell you what the course is called. You could say, oh, I found that really engaging, or it's just going to be something, I'm going to try and help you have like extra things, especially you guys who are here at the moment, to have that little extra push. Even if you're not applying to do philosophy or ethics, it's kind of showing that you're doing this extra thing. Because I know with lockdown and everything, it's been tricky to do those things. So I'll show this to you, and then we're just going to watch one little clip of it, but you might fancy watching the whole thing. And also it's really good for understanding Kantian ethics. So I'll just find him here, and I'll try and give you more things like that, that you can know, you know, that you can, obviously they're good in their own right, but I'm thinking for you and your futures as well. So here, let's have a look. So it's called Michael Sandel. He's got a whole like lecture series. And the first thing you're going to do is watch a short animation that is part of the course. Michael Sandel, I've even written his name wrong here. Okay, so, and we're going to decide whether it's ethical what this shopkeeper does. Whoops. So this is an example that Kant uses when he's explaining his ethical theory. He actually uses this example, and it is that one there. Okay, you're getting the hang of this, Miss Marks. An example he uses called the good shopkeeper, the ethical shopkeeper. So I'm going to, yeah, it's definitely one you can use in an essay. You know, we like to use different examples. So you could use in Kant's example of the good shopkeeper. Okay, here we go. I'll stop talking now. Just, yeah, I'm sure it's going to work. Here we go.
Suppose a child goes into a store to buy a loaf of bread. The shopkeeper realizes that she could shortchange the child, but she worries that if she did so, other customers might find out and she would lose business. So she decides to give the child the correct change. Does the shopkeeper's action have moral worth?
So what do we think? Does the shopkeeper's action have moral worth? Has the shopkeeper done the right thing by giving the correct change to the child? What do you think? Raise hands if you think the shopkeeper did the right thing. Ooh. Okay, cool. So we got three people. Does that mean that the other six, Khadija, Jamila, Fatima, Khadija and Jamila, do you three think that it wasn't morally good? What do you think, Jamila, Fatima and Khadija? Do you think it was morally right what the shopkeeper did? Khadija, are you there? Do you want to type? Yeah, I really want Google to have those three little dots so I can see when people are typing. Or Fatima, Jamila, or Khadija, one of the three of you, tell me. You can unmute or type it. Hopefully you're still there. Okay, while we wait for them, let's see. Reem, do you want to type or say why you think it was morally good? Oh. Or are you typing just a super long essay, Reem? Or Mariam, why do you think it was good what the shopkeeper did? Or okay, cool. You mean that's fine? Yeah. Why do you think it was good? Because the shopkeeper could have cheated but didn't, so it's the moral thing. It was good. So why was it good, Mariam? Because the shopkeeper did the right thing by not giving the wrong change to the child. Yeah. But what I'm wondering is, yeah. So basically, Kant would argue it wasn't the right thing to do. Yes, exactly. So Kant is all about the intention and why you've done something. So this is where I think Kant, it's basically very idealistic for business ethics, this idea that businesses would do the right thing because it's right. Whereas I think that's a bit too hopeful about businesses, because it was morally good because they didn't steal, but for the wrong reason. Yeah, so this really is what we're doing in meta ethics. So we'll come back to this in meta ethics. What does it mean to be good? So the effect was that the shopkeeper, did the right thing for the child and didn't shortchange them, and they came away with the right change. So I guess that's quite utilitarian. The effect is the child had the right money at the end, but the intention was wrong, because the intention, in Kant's view, wasn't for purely because it's the right thing to do. There was this other intention to look good. So I think it it's not a religious theory, but I think some religions might have a similar thing sometimes, mightn't they? Should we have a look and see, Michael, or did someone raise their hand again and want to say something about this? Yeah, good. So you can start to see what Kantian ethics is. So you can definitely use this in an essay, Kant's example of the good shopkeeper. And this person speaking, we're now going to watch him talk. He's called Michael Sandel. And I really suggest, yeah, especially the six of you here, that you might want to watch this video and just sit down and make some notes, and then you can either bring it in an essay, or you can mention it in uni applications, that sort of stuff. Okay, let me find it here for us. So, and again, this is in the Google Classroom. So, and it starts at 16 minutes because that's our example. But if you want to watch the whole thing, you go back to the beginning. I'm sure you understand that. Okay, here we go. Okay. So I'm just going to mute myself so that we can
It doesn't have moral worth because the shopkeeper only did the right thing for the customer. Well, for Kant, the opposite would be all of those motives having to do with our inclinations. And inclinations refer to all of our desires, all of our contingently given wants, preferences, impulses, and the like. Only actions done for the sake of the moral law, for the sake of duty, only these actions have moral worth. Now, I want to see what you think about this idea, but first let's consider a few examples. Kant begins with an example of a shopkeeper. He wants to bring out the intuition and make plausible the idea that what confers moral worth on an action is that it be done because it's right. He says, suppose there's a shopkeeper and an inexperienced customer comes in. The shopkeeper knows that he could give the customer the wrong change, could shortchange the customer and get away with it, that at least that customer wouldn't know. But the shopkeeper nonetheless says, well, if I shortchange this customer, word may get out, my reputation would be damaged, and I would lose business. So I won't shortchange this customer. The shopkeeper does nothing wrong. He gives the correct change. But does his action have moral worth? Kant says no. It doesn't have moral worth because the shopkeeper only did the right thing for the wrong reason, out of self-interest. That's a pretty straightforward case. Then he takes another case, the case of suicide.
So then Michael Sandel goes on to talk about other examples which you can watch yourself. So that's 55 minutes long on Kant, but he's got videos on like all different types of ethics, and the whole course is called Justice. So you could say something like, I watched, I when they say something like, oh, what have you done to further your studies, or something that you've found interesting that you've done extra to your studies. Oh, I really enjoyed watching the lectures from Michael Sandel at Harvard University in his Justice course. It got me thinking about. So it's something you can mention in a university interview, if you like. I try to give you these things when I can to help you think of what you can say, because I want you to really big yourselves up in these interviews. Has anyone got any interviews yet, or have the applications gone through yet? Do a hands up if you've already applied to a uni or somewhere. I know some of you, have got some. So so I'm trying to think of things you can say, things you can that have moral worth because they are things to do, but also I think they can help you with that. Great, good. So he is saying, so you could use the shopkeeper's example, Kant's shopkeeper example, to say that even if you're doing the right thing as a business person, if you're doing it for the wrong reason, for Kant, it's not the right thing, because you should only do things because of the duty that you have, because it's the right thing to do. It's about the intention rather than the effect. Whereas utilitarianism, you might argue, is about the effect, and maybe that's better because that's kind of what actually happens. Fantastic. So this PowerPoint I was showing, and I've put the quote there from Sandel, only the actions done for the sake of duty have moral worth. So the PowerPoint I've been looking at with you, just want to get to my which is in Google Classroom for you, has a kind of reminder of what you need to do for those essays band 6. And my next job after I've done these lessons, the next few days, is to get your essays marked as well. So I should be able to give those back to you when we're back in class on Tuesday. And the person, I didn't make these, the person who made these PowerPoints, and I've actually put, for the whole of business ethics, I've put like a whole set of PowerPoints so you can go through and look at them as well in your own time, if you like, who made the booklet that I'm going to give to you next week that you've got. Fatima's already gone through and got 29 out of 30. Well done, Fatima, for that quiz that I set. This person has, I find these really helpful, given like points for and against some different essay statements. So have a look at these at your own leisure. This is in the Google Classroom. Maybe I'll put the link here so you can find it, because I thought we could have a look through this and have a go at that website I was trying to do yesterday. We'll just try it, and if it doesn't work, we'll do something else. Okay. So here we've got to what extent does, so for example here, how successful is utilitarianism? They've got some points for and against. Then we've got Kantian ethics, some points for and against. And then here we go through those other things like CSR, corporate social responsibility, is nothing more than a hypocritical attempt to make a profit, for and against. And then here, globalization, is impossible for business to act ethically. And then finally, this question about can human beings flourish in the context of capitalism and consumerism? Not a huge amount of points there, so I thought that's something we could maybe do together in class. So actually what I'm going to do is give you that link so that you can have a look at that yourself. Let me just find our classroom here. Just ask me any questions if you have any at any point. You're being very nice listening, just in the chat or raise a hand. I'm just going to send you the link to that PowerPoint so you can kind of have a look through and look at some of the points. And then I want to have a go at doing that online debate that I tried yesterday, but we're going to manage it today before we go. And we will go over these things in class as well. And I've made a topic in the Google Classroom for the task that I want everyone to do. So hopefully, yeah, even if people aren't here, they're still going to have a go. So this is, I've put one of our essay planning sheets in here, and then this PowerPoint I've just shown you. I thought maybe we could have a go first at planning it together on that website, and then you could plan what points, start to think about what points you would put in there. We don't have to get that done today. So just do a hands up once you've got to that task and you've opened that PowerPoint I was showing you. Okay, so hopefully this is going to work now. Oh, well done. Thank you. Lovely. Oh, brilliant. Well done. Okay. So hopefully now hopefully this is going to work. So now can you click on this link? I really want this to work. I did manage to get this going in my other class. If you click on that link there, Kylo Edu, it should bring up something like this. You might have to join it. It looks like that. And then you should hopefully be able to type in some ideas. So I thought we could try and argue that utilitarianism is the most useful ethical theory for discussing the issues of business ethics. And we are going to put some points in. You should be able to do pros and cons. So it's a bit simpler than the one I tried yesterday. And then we should be able to vote on each other's ones and sort of decide together what we think. And then I think I've flipped it for the one you're doing in Google Classroom to Kantian ethics. Let's just check. Yeah. So you could use the PowerPoint to help, or you can use the whole topic booklet as well. I'm giving you so many links. Okay. Oh, brilliant! Well done. Thank you. So, or you can use this booklet. I know I haven't physically given it to you that you were looking through yesterday. It's got quite a lot of. It's got like 4 points, 5 points for, and 5 points against on here as well. In fact, I'll just send you one last link to that. Oh, brilliant. Okay, I think you can probably, yeah, let's have a look. So what we got here, only focuses on the intention. Good. Oh, only focuses on the intent. Well, utilitarianism does. I'm going to write you a comment here and say, write a comment. The Do you mean it does not focus attention? Okay, good. More people are happier in every outcome. And then I'm going to say, and then we should be able to rank each other's. Here I'm going to say exponents the minority. Okay, great, good, good. More people are happy in every outcome. Okay. Good. Yeah, good, Rin. Yeah. Yeah, good. So, oh yeah, aren't you wonderful? I knew this would be good for us. So here I'm going to say, the counter's better because it focuses on reason rather than pleasure. It's reasonable to think people choose it. Brilliant, well done, good. Yeah. So are we mainly arguing? We seem to be against utilitarianism. So I'm going to try and stick some pros in here and see if that can, if we can balance it out a bit. Although we seem to be quite against it, don't we? Let's have a look. Let's see if we can think of any pros. Then we can vote on each other's ones as well. Let me see. I'm going to put a pro, which is that's it's just more practical because that's how the business world works, isn't it? Okay. Oh, that's what Tika's put as well. We think the same way. It's more practical in the real world. Yeah, good. Makes more sense. Maximizes utility. Oh yeah, and also utilitarianism can consider all the stakeholders, not just the shareholders. Still, I love doing business ethics. It's more practical, consider all the stakeholders. Has everyone written something? Let's see. We got Mariam, Nimka, Fatima Reem, Jamila, Atika. Yeah, maybe try and put another couple in, everyone, and then we can vote on them. Can write some comments. And I thought there was a way we could I think there's a way you can. We could vote on them in a minute and decide what we think. It's very impractical. Utilitarians, everyone, most people have this stuff, everyone good. Let's see. Even if the cheaper labour minority, they're still important, good. Utilitarian, good. Why don't we try and put another, only focuses on Everyone try and put one more in somewhere on either side. Hedonic calculus. Is the hedonic calculus practical enough to use for business decisions? Or I guess the hedonic calculus is kind of what businesses do already. In a minute, we'll take a vote on them and we'll see, decide which ones are stronger. Kant is better because it's reason, more practical, Ream, yeah, good. More people are happier. And here I'm actually going to put what we talked about yesterday, the environment, as a growing number of people are concerned about the environment. These are Singer's utilitarianism. Peter Singer's utilitarianism brings in all sentiment. I'm going to say here that basically, especially for you, this group of, yeah, you who've come to the chat today, the call today, for your group, you could bring in Peter Singer as a utilitarian, who is like a more recent utilitarian than Bentham and Mill. And one of the things that he talks about a lot is, I said it yesterday, that all sentient beings, so all beings that are aware of feeling pain, so they have like a conscious feeling of pain, pleasure and pain. So for him, that's kind of like, you know, chimpanzees or animals like pigs, dogs, that sort of thing. All these animals are also in what's called our moral circle. So who do we care about the impact that we have on? Is it just humans, or is it all sentient beings? Do they all count? In fact, he might argue that something like a chimpanzee has even got personhood, which we'll think about with euthanasia. So we'll talk about Peter Singer again in euthanasia. So they have personhood. They count in our decisions about whether they whether our actions are moral or not towards them. So he's a big advocate for veganism and not killing animals to eat them. And then he's also a big advocate about environmental caring for the environment. And so I think you could bring him in with business ethics and say, especially in the current age with the kind of climate crisis, with the destruction of habitats that many companies are doing, that Peter Singer's utilitarianism could be most useful, because this is something that we're going to have to tackle for humans and animals and life on Earth. So I think that is something a little bit extra that you can bring in. I'm thinking about this group of students who are here in particular at the moment. So now, why don't we vote on them? Yes, I managed to get it to work. So why don't we vote? Can you see if you can basically rank them? So you go to the little dots and you can sort of go between 1 to 5 as to how strong or convincing you think each of those points are. And then this helps us to, does this mean, do we genuinely think that Kantian ethics is most useful? And again, I want us to think about the wording of the question, useful. Is it useful? Is it practical? So is it not just like the ideals and the idea of it? You know, you might want to say something like, whilst Kantian ethics as an idea is better, maybe this idea that people are treated like this and the intentions are what are looked at, is that actually what happens in the real world? Your thesis might want to be something like, in the real world, something like utilitarianism might be a more practical and useful ethical theory because of the way that it deals with the different problems and issues of business ethics. But overall, you might still feel that Kantian ethics is a better ideal. It's a better theory to think about the issues. But practically on the ground, perhaps utilitarianism is one that is of more use. Because remember, yeah, this is day-to-day actions constantly happening around the world. Which one is actually of more use? So I've kind of argued myself back again, because yesterday I was feeling more like Kantian ethics. What do you think, everybody? So let's see. Why don't we Vote on them. Oh, great. You are voting on them. Fantastic. Yes, I love using this. I'm going to use it more, actually. So why don't you all vote and we'll see how they look. And then we should at the top see the overall votes that people have given them. And then I wonder if we can rank it so that we have our most... Yeah, can't. Good, 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 good. Ream. Lovely. Has everyone managed to vote? So Mariam's one. I think I've written in a comment to say that Kant is the one who focuses on intention. So you might say that's a better, you know. Oh, look, then you can tick on the particular. Oh, look at this. Well, let's see. So. And then look, Reem, I'm going to give you a con. However, then can you find something you don't agree with and stick a con on it or a pro on it? Oh, let's see if we can all find one to go on every single one. I'm going to put Hillary Zor from me. Reem. I think, okay. I'm not going to say here, but isn't isn't the point of ethics to elevate? Oh, aren't you wonderful? But can you see how you can pick a particular one? And how do I go back to all of them? I go back there, do I? And then you should be able to vote on them and add cons and pros and cons. Great. So what I'm going to say is that 2 minutes too. So let's come back together. Was that useful? Did you like doing that? Was that useful to see each other's points like that? Because when we're not talking and we're not typing in the chat, I think it was useful. Do a show of hands if you thought that was quite useful to see each other's points. Yes. Okay. I'm going to ask you another question. I'll open it to everyone, but I'm basically looking at the names here in front of me and thinking, would you appreciate us doing sort of fairly regular, maybe like Saturday sessions, 1 hour on a Saturday morning, where we perhaps do something like this, where we debate some of the things we've done in class in a bit more detail. Maybe we add in a few more, you know, some more ideas, or I bring in a couple of extra scholars, because I'm just looking at the list of names of people who are here at the moment and thinking all of you are, and where's Fatima? Is Fatima still here? Oh yeah, Fatima's here. All of you are really wanting to, you're all working really hard at the moment and wanting to do very well. Everyone is in the class, but I'm looking at you in particular. Shall I ask if I could do, like we just do 1 hour on a Saturday like this each week, or with the weeks that I can do it, I'll let you know. And then we can like maybe do a debate like this around some of the key topics or the key issues that we're covering in class. Would anyone appreciate that? Would you like to do that? If you do a show of hands, if you put your hand down. Is that down and then back up again, Jamila? This is just going to be you and me. Fatima, would you like that? Reem, Nimka, Atika? I think I'm going to put that to the college to ask if we could do that. It would be online because for me at home, like I could basically set the kids up on the TV and then sit with you. I don't know. I just feel that we could use this platform, this website, and we can just push our thinking a little bit more than we can do in class sometimes. Obviously, we can in class as well, but I think it might be really benefit you. Okay, I'll ask. And then we can, that would be helpful. Great, good, yeah. I know, I wanted to see how it went online with us, because obviously I haven't done this with you yet. So we can use that platform basically and debate a sort of, we can have it as like a sort of pushing our thinking for our essay skills with debating and thinking about some of the things. It could be what we've done in class, or maybe we could just do ethics so that we're getting our head around that. Yeah, and if there's a particular topic you want me to do, let me know. But I'm going to put that to the college and ask if we could do that regularly. So I think that'd be really good for us to do that. So everyone in the class is going to do an essay plan on Kantian ethics. So we've done the kind of utilitarian side here, and we'll flip it and do an essay on Kant. Essay plan. We're not going to have to write an essay on it yet. I don't know what topics are going to come up in the next sort of proper mock type thing that's going to happen in, I think it's January, you have UCAS or mock week. So I want to get us prepared for that. So everyone will still do all the work, and this obviously has been recorded so people can watch it too. But I think unless anyone's got any questions today, this will stay open so you can find the points if you want them. You can always join it. I think, unless anyone's got any questions they want to ask me, I think I might say goodbye. Has anyone got anything they want to ask? Or should we see if you managed to do, everyone voted in the polls? So generally we think utilitarianism is the most useful. We are split on whether whistleblowing is ethical. Generally think globalization is a good thing, but we also think it's not possible to flourish in a capitalist consumer society. Yeah. And we disagree that as long as a business is doing the right thing, doesn't matter why. Great. So we've kind of engaged with the issues. And I think what I'm going to say is goodbye this morning. And I will find out if we could do like a regular Saturday thing and let you know. But other than that, I'll see you on Tuesday. Hopefully I'll have some lovely marked essays ready for you. Should we say goodbye? Bye, Reem. Bye. Bye. Bye, Mariam. How do I get Mariam to go? Cool. Stop sharing. And then here, I'm going to, cool.